Ian Donnis, you're a political reporter, right, at the Public's Radio?
That's correct.
And a longtime local reporter at many different outlets.
Yes, I've been a reporter in Rhode Island for more than 20 years now. I had done a little bit of work for the Associated Press in the 1980s while commuting from Boston, but then I came to Rhode Island to stay in 1999, and I started at the now defunct Providence Phoenix 2 weeks before the FBI raided City Hall for the Plunderdome investigation of Buddy Cianci. So I knew I was in a good place to be a reporter.
Good timing.
Indeed.
Much beloved Providence Phoenix, we should say.
Thank you. Yes, I remember fondly my time working there.
As do many other of your fans. So I first want to ask you about the hat. Is that a goat?
It is a goat. It's a goat chewing a baseball bat. It's a hat of the Hartford Yard Goats, who are a minor league baseball team. I believe they're affiliated with the Colorado Rockies. And I asked my wife to get me this hat just because I liked the design. I'm a big baseball fan. As you may know, I play in an old guys baseball league, and I just like the image of a goat chewing on a baseball bat. And actually, one of my dogs chewed on this hat, perhaps inspired by the goat. So the hat was out of action for a while, but I got a tailor to stitch the brim back together. So it's all good.
Yeah, that's real commitment to the hat. We can't see any of the damage. So
I have a good tailor.
So I'm guessing your old guy baseball league is not playing right now. What, from your experience and perspective, and what do you see happening right now? What are you experiencing?
Well, I've been working from home, as have my colleagues at the Public's Radio, since early to mid-March. We've been able to keep up a robust amount of reporting by doing phone interviews. We're on a cloud-based platform, so we're able to move sound to our studio in downtown Providence, where our anchors are the only ones who are currently working at the station. Of course, it's a very odd state of affairs for a lot of people. I mean, I know there's a lot of hurt and pain out there because so many people have lost their jobs and lost their ability to, there's concern about people paying their mortgages, paying their rent. My heart goes out to those people. On a little bit more of a pedestrian level, you go out to the supermarket, and we Americans have been so accustomed to being surrounded by a bounty of, too much consumer stuff. And now it looks a little more like the old Soviet system. And, but obviously there are a lot of aspects of this pandemic that many of us would never have anticipated. And yeah, as far as my baseball league, they have hopes of gearing up in May. I think that might be a little too optimistic. Playing in the field is probably not an issue. You're spread out far enough, but when you're batting and you're hanging out with your teammates on the home side, I don't know how we would be able to socially distance in a dugout. That's going to have to be finessed, but it does seem like we will see some aspects of the economy reopening in May.
And what's it like? I mean, I've been super impressed with the local media and the news coverage, just really, actually, I think ramping up, not just continuing. What is it like being part of that? I mean, what are the new challenges of covering this story, and what's working well? Where do you think it's a little bit more of a struggle?
Yeah, great question. And I think, the situation was first kind of overwhelming for a lot of people. I think for those of us in the media, it was kind of like trying to sip from a fire hose. And that might be a bit of a cliche, but it's true. And there was just so much information, so many facets of the story that demand attention. And I think some of the things that we reporters are trying to follow, is what is the day-to-day news? What is the curve of the virus in Rhode Island? And then how are people being affected by that? What is the effect on different sectors of the economy and business people? There's obviously been a dramatic impact on healthcare providers and nursing homes. And we and other news organizations have looked at different pieces of that. I've done interviews with people like the State Labor and Training Director, Scott Jensen. I've done stories on why liquor stores are considered an essential business, how the pandemic is affecting the media in Rhode Island. I'm working on one now looking at the impact on the Latino community and how the health director, Dr. Nicole Alexander Scott, has responded to the situation. So there are a lot of pieces of the story. I think as the situation has gone on, news organizations are trying to maybe pull back a little bit longer, look at whether how well the federal money is being spent, whether it's going to its intended purposes, trying to do some of the traditional watchdog reporting of looking at how well or how poorly government is responding to this massive crisis.
Is there any way that you wish you could cover this story that you haven't been able to?
Great question. I feel like I've been able to go in a lot of different directions, even while being physically limited to my home. I mean, this week we see how a General Assembly task force is going to hold the first meeting at the State House of the Legislature in more than a month. So I will probably go to the State House for that. But I've been keeping very busy. It's funny, Jessica, I mean, even without my usual 15-minute commute each way from East Providence to Providence, my work days are full and busy, and it's demanding to keep up with all my email and to follow Twitter and do all the things I normally do. So, I've just been trying to keep up a robust output of news.
It feels like so much longer than a month. When you said a month, I thought, no, it's been longer than that.
Right.
Just feels that way.
Yeah, it's kind of like dog years of news or time.
I always like to ask, is there anything that's giving you hope, or that, there's a lot of bad happening right now, but, anything that you're holding on to, or bright spots that you see?
Yeah, this is something that Governor Raimondo has talked about, and I think there are a lot of people in Rhode Island who are trying to respond in a positive way, trying to help their neighbors, check in on an elderly neighbor. We happen to have someone like that who lives near us, and we try and look out for her. And, things like that, just being decent human beings. And it's a very stressful time for a lot of people. I mean, I think if people can afford it, they're making some charitable contributions, trying to help those who are in need. And I remember just early on when this was happening, like a lot of people, I was scouring stores for toilet paper, and without much success. And I woke up, BJ's Wholesale Club in Seekonk open. I was surprised they don't open earlier, but back then they were opening up at 9. And I went there one day to get some toilet paper just as they were opening, and I was able to do so. And I saw a guy in the aisle, and he just looked like he was near the end of his rope. And this was very early on in the situation. And I have no idea what was going on in his life. And certainly it's been very difficult and very frustrating for a lot of people. But, at the same time, I think we're seeing a lot of people respond in a positive way and trying to take a deep breath and go for a walk and remain level-headed in a very difficult situation.
Yep. Great. Anything else you want to add?
Well, thanks for the interview. It's good to see you in Zoom land. We use Zoom in my newsroom to have a news meeting every Monday through Friday, so I get to check in with my colleagues that way. And best wishes to you and your friends and family.
Same to you, Ian. I hope that you have plenty of toilet paper and you get back to baseball very soon.
Thank you.